Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here, another episode of Forum Talk for you. And I saw this thread, and it's an idea that I've seen before and I've thought of before, but I think it's a really good idea, and I think it's something that's actually really practical that the developers could actually do. So let's kind of go through this thread and talk about it. So the topic is a learning difficulty in raids. So here's what the original poster of this thread had to say. It's pretty rare to see an LFM for a raid, much less a learning friendly LFM. I think that's true. Many folks are doing okay, but I think more players are getting left behind than they used to. That's just my feeling as the game occurs to me on my server. A simple way to improve the situation without breaking the worlds is to empower the players to learn the raids with no or extremely low chance of the named loot. Seems to solve a chicken egg problem with minimal repercussions. The result is simply knowledge. So the idea here being that we could, the game SSG could introduce a learning difficulty, so something easier than normal difficulty for raids. Now, raids, unlike regular quests, normal isn't exactly a cakewalk. I mean, normal, depending on the raid, is fairly easy, but if you get into a raid that has a lot of intricacies, say like running a normal Strahd, it's by no means a guaranteed completion if you don't have a group that knows what it's doing, or if you just have a group of a lot of casual players. I mean, I've been in really hard normal runs because it was just full of players that just weren't geared for it. Unlike when you think of something like epic normal, legendary normal, where it's like it's pretty much a cakewalk. I mean, if you have any kind of decent character, you shouldn't be struggling in epic normal or legendary normal. Really, I can't see even really casual players. I mean, unless you build just a completely broken character, I don't see how you could have a problem in epic normal. But for raids, it's completely different. The difficulty for normal is higher than it is in regular quests for sure. So I think that this idea is really good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I can't, honestly, I can't see a downside to it. What this would do is it would help break down that wall of people being nervous or people not being prepared for raids. A lot of people have a lot of stress and anxiety when it comes to joining a raid because a raid, unlike a lot of normal quests, I mean, you can really screw up a raid if you don't know it. So, like, you go into, for example, you go into Strahd and you don't know the section where you have to find the cards. If you don't know what you're doing there, and there's like a card in a door near you, and you don't know what you're supposed to do, or you're not listening. I mean, if you don't know the puzzles, for example, in certain quests or certain raids, say like Shroud, for instance, like Legendary Shroud. If you don't know the light puzzles and can't do them at all, it can be a problem if a lot of the group doesn't know that. So this is kind of a way for people to go into a raid and just learn some of the puzzles. So say you want to just learn like the mirror puzzles in Deathworm, or you want to learn how to do the tile puzzles really, really fast in Baba. Like, this would be a good way that people could do that, and they could go in and learn the raid solo without much issue. Now, there's definitely going to be some issues in terms of soloing, in that there are certain raids like Von 5, for instance, that you cannot solo. It is not possible. And I don't see a problem with that. Like, this could be run with 2 or 3 players if needed, for 2, 3, 4 players if needed for a raid like Von 5. But I think there's a lot of raids that you definitely can solo, and this would be a really good way for people to be able to learn the raid without having to deal with that initial I guess barrier to entry there with learning. I mean, you can learn raids in other ways. So you can, for example, watch learning videos on YouTube. Like Voodoo Spice does a really good job. He has a bunch of learning raids on his YouTube channel, so you can kind of watch his videos. But I think actually playing through a quest or playing through a raid or playing through a piece of content is always going to be the best way to do it. I mean, I think most people learn by doing, and I really see no issue with this. Assuming, of course, that we don't put in any kind of incentives to complete. So that means there should not be any loot that drops, and probably no XP either. I mean, if you want to throw in like a tiny bit of XP like you get for running casual difficulty on regular quests, fine, but there should be definitely no chance of loot or anything. You shouldn't progress towards loot. There should be nothing like that. The only downside I can possibly see with this is that maybe some casual players that are in the raiding scene from time to time might just run this as their standard difficulty, because there are some really casual players who don't care about loot, so they might just run this with their small static group and just kind of ignore the the normal the well, I guess normal's not a good word, but these kind of typical raiding scene that's running raids on epic elite, epic hard, reaper 1. That's kind of the main difficulties that I see run anyways. They might not bother with that, but that's really a tiny downside. I don't know that there's hardly many players who play would do that. I think there are definitely some players, and I've seen a lot of players who don't run raids at all, so maybe some would do that, but I think there would be many more players that would be willing to run raid groups and get involved in the raid in game if something like this were to be implemented. And the other good thing about this is I don't see this being like, I'm not a developer, obviously, so I could be wrong on this, but from what I know, I don't see this being a technical hurdle for the developers to implement. I mean, they added 10 new difficulty levels with Reaper, so they would just have to do some slight modifications with this, just basically get normal difficulty and take the loot out and take the stats of the monsters down, and that's about it. I guess the other downside would this be something that would kind of degrade the experience of raiding? So raiding is supposed to be is this in-game challenging thing to do, and it's supposed to be very satisfying to complete a raid. So the opportunity to be able to complete a raid just by cakewalking by yourself might take some of the, I guess, prestige or thrill of completing a raid for the story and for the experience down. But I don't know if I'd lend a lot of credence to that argument, because I think at the end of the day, a lot of the experience is overcoming the actual challenge, and there won't be a challenge in a learning difficulty, and a lot of the experience of raiding, and I think the main experience and the main reason people have fun with raiding is to get that awesome shiny piece of loot that you want. And it's really satisfying to, say, run a raid a bunch of times and finally get that one piece of loot you want. So I think that's the main reason people run more than anything. So I don't think that argument really holds a lot of water, but that's basically my summary of what I think. Let's kind of just go through the thread and see if there's anything else that we can see here that people might say in response to this. So here's another person say, I agree with you as a pug player, and another good point, a non speaking English player. And I've run into that situation before where you're running a raid and there's someone in the raid who doesn't speak English, and I think that was a situation with a recent Baba run I was in probably last month. We had a player who didn't know to pull the scarecrows away from the puzzle, and everyone was telling me he did not speak English. So I was leading that Baba raid, and I tried to explain to him, how to do that, like that you need to take the big scarecrow, away from the puzzle, but he didn't understand, so we actually failed that raid. I think that this this difficulty could help solve that problem for players who maybe have that kind of barrier, like a language barrier. Maybe they could go into something like Baba and learn it solo. So yeah, that's one good thing. So let's see. This next person brings up the issue of many raid mechanics can't be solved solo, which I don't think is a problem, because on the learning difficulty, you could just bring in 2 or 3 people or put up an LFM that, hey, I just need someone to pull the levers in Von 5 or whatever, so I don't really see that as being an issue. Yeah, so let's see what else. This next person, I'm pretty sure this is sarcastic, but he says, even better, just let us buy raid gear with enough of a soloable currency like Vistani tokens. Obviously, that's a terrible idea, because you shouldn't be able to get raid loot from not running raids, because it takes away the whole point of running raids. So that's if you want raid gear, you got to run raids. Without that, then if you take that away, then raids really lose their purpose of being run at all. Let's see. He mentions that this could be addressed by the raiding community just writing up good descriptions on the wiki, but see, those exist already, and it's not really like I mentioned, Voodoo Spice's videos. There's also various raid guides that are written by a lot of players. You often see these on the forums. I've seen some on a really good Strahd raid guide I saw on one of the guild some guild's forum, or some guild's website. I'm sorry. So I think those things exist already, and it hasn't really been sufficient. I mean, it's certainly helped a lot of players. It's helped me. Like I definitely like those guides when I'm trying to learn intricacies of a raid, especially if I want to lead it. I want to make sure I know everything. But it's not. I don't think it's something that really completely solves the problem or doesn't solve everything. So let's see. This next person mentions that the raid guides are often written in English, and non-English speaking players are going to have issues with that, so that won't be sufficient for that reason. That's true. It's another reason why learning difficulty might be helpful for a player who doesn't speak English. Let's see. I think other people chimed in here and said absolutely no chance of loot on legendary learning difficulty. I think that's something that everyone would agree on for this idea, is that definitely there should be no way you should get loot for this. And as far as the difficulty I have in mind is probably in line with like how easy casual is on regular quests like epic or legendary 6-man quests. I think it should be, if this were to be implemented, it should be significantly significantly easier than normal for a raid difficulty. Let's see. This person says not signed. Raids are supposed to be challenging, but on normal, even the legendary ones can be accomplished by characters without optimal builds or any past lives. Yeah. I mean, see, the issue with raiding is that this is trying to solve is actually learning the raids. I do agree that sometimes some of the legendary ones can be accomplished on normal, but there's some, like Killing Time, for example, is a pretty hard raid on normal. So it's or at least it's not nearly a cakewalk. And again, a lot of the issue here is not with the power of the characters, is people not knowing the raid. So this is going to hopefully help that. So I don't know that that's really a relevant point. And this other person mentions the High Lords of Malkir run teaching raids in Sarlona, which that is Voodoo Spice's guild, I believe. And yeah, that's great that they do that, but there's not very many raids like that on a lot of servers. Okay, I wish my phone would shut up. All right. A lot of servers just do not have that. I wish that my guild Thelanis had someone like that, had a guild like that. I mean, my guild does run raids, but I think there's not really a guild that's that out into the public with actually advertising this kind of stuff. But again, I'm not really seeing much of an argument with the not an argument for not doing this. I mean, I think I'm just not seeing too many reasons not to. Like I mentioned a few already, but I don't think that, again, I don't think having a normal difficulty or a learning difficulty for raids is going to take away the challenge aspect, because again, you're not going to get any kind of rewards. So as long as you're not getting any kind of rewards, there's going to be no incentive to run the learning difficulty past the point at which you learn the raid. So I don't see that as being an issue. And anything that makes the learning curve more digestible for more players is good. I think the days of saying that, hey, this rating special, if you want to, or saying any kind of difficulty, or not difficulty, but any kind of section of the game should require a large learning curve, or if you take this learning curve away, it won't be special anymore. I think that argument kind of long since went out the window, because the thing is, DDO is an old game, has a smaller player base, and we need to do things that make it easier for new players, less experienced players, to get in with the main crowd of players, and to kind of consolidate players as much as we can. I think we should do that as long as we're not taking away from, as long as we're not going into pay to win, or we're doing something that really takes away from anyone else's fun, and I don't see that being the case here. Let's see. Yeah, and this toast here is actually from me, and I basically summed up already my ideas on this post earlier in this video, so I won't read it again. This next person mentions that he'd be in favor, or she would be in favor of a casual raid difficulty that allows hirelings. Uh, maybe, I guess. I guess for learning difficulty you could do that. I don't know if there's a coding issue with that with the devs. I don't know if that would be hard to implement. Um, Maybe it's just a matter of changing a few fields. I don't know, but I don't know. I guess since it's a learning difficulty, I guess that's fine. Just on the learning difficulty, obviously. But the thing is, if it's on a learning difficulty, you shouldn't really need a hireling anyways. So I don't really get the argument for this. If it's a super, super easy difficulty, I mean, what do you really need a cleric hireling? Really? I guess that could help with maybe pulling some levers, potentially. I don't know. I guess that's an idea, though. Maybe help people who want to learn, like Von 5 solo. Maybe that's okay. This person mentions that I love the idea. There are virtually no LFMs that I see on Sarlona for raids. So yeah, again, this difficulty would help people hopefully get into raiding and help consolidate the player base. It would definitely make running learning runs more easier and more palatable. Let's see. Yeah, this next person mentions, I think this is the last person in the thread. This is something I would have really appreciated when I was just starting to raid. Yeah, me too. And even today, I would use this today. Like I would like to go into, for example, when the new raid comes out for Sharn, I would love to. You guys know me. You've seen my Let's Play videos on my channel. I like to run through the quests. First time I play any quest, I like to run through it just on an easy, like normal difficulty or an easy difficulty. So if I could do that with the raids, with the new Sharn raids coming out, that would be awesome if I could run through it on learning difficulty like once, just to get a handle for it before I run it on, Reaper 1 or something, or Epically, whatever. So this person mentions that, yeah, he would have really appreciated that. So yeah, I think we all would. Or at least most of us would. So yeah, guys, that is going to be it for this thread and this topic. Let me know what you think. If you think it's a good idea, if you think it's a bad idea, would be interested in reading that as always. Guys, that's going to be it for this video. I'll see you next time. Take care.